Welcome to another episode of Cadence Fishing TV. What an absolutely glorious morning. I'm fishing with my good friend and brand ambassador Steve Whitfield, and we're at Worsbrough Reservoir near Barnsley.
Reservoir.
Sorry Steve.
Worsbrough Reservoir.
Worsbrough, excuse my Yorkshire accent. Well, the tactics today are long range feeder fishing, and we're going to focus on the method feeder, aren't we, Steve?
Yes, we're going to be doing some long range method feeder fishing. We're going to be fishing distances from maybe 75 metres up to 90 metres. The area we're fishing today, we're on peg 37, and it's the last peg before we go onto the dam wall, before it moves over onto the flat dam wall, if you like, on the dam head, where peg 36 starts again. And what we've got here, we've got a bit of a feature, because we've got the pier, and although it's deep water, and that's where we'd expect to get some fishing when it's got some real good form, especially in the matches.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's an absolutely glorious morning. It's been really cold, but I can't wait to learn more about this style of fishing, so I'm really excited. So Steve, the main sort of thinking today was, I know you've been fishing quite a few matches on here of late, through the winter, and talking to you, it surprised me really, because I always remembered Worsbrough as a skimmer bream venue, and you've been catching some decent carp, haven't you, in the matches? Yeah,
well, it's still got a good head of carp, a good head of skimmers and hybrids and stuff, and in winter it can be great roach fishing too. But what this venue's done, it's kind of moved on over the last few years, and about 10-12 years ago they introduced some carp, which were quite controversial, but it seems to have took to carp quite well. They've had a couple more stockings, and what we've kind of got now is we've got the last stocking of carp, what were 4 or 5 years ago, which were kind of pasty size, are now 4 or 5 pound.
Yeah.
We've also got in fewer numbers fish around the double figure mark, 10-12 pound, and then there's quite a few like 15 to big teens. So potentially we could catch anything on this method from 5 pound to, I'll stick my neck out and say you could catch one 15-16 pound.
Well, to catch a big carp today would be absolutely awesome, but I mean, it surprises me. We've had a week now of hard frosts. It's sort of been down to -2, -3, and I'm surprised that you'd really expect to catch the carp in these conditions. I would have thought it'd be the carp that switch off.
Well, when I was loading the tackle up in the car this morning, I was quite worried because we got quite a lot of ice on the car, and I was kind of thinking it might put the fish off, but it's kind of settled now. If it were the first or second frost, but this is the third or fourth.
Well, that was a quick bite anyway, so that just shows you we weren't expecting that. Was it a bite or a liner, do you reckon?
It went round and dropped back, slack.
Yeah. So Steve, I mean, it's a big reservoir.
Yeah.
You kind of touched on the fact that you've picked this peg because of the feature of the pier, and I was interested to hear what you were saying when we were setting up, that you know there's a lot of people come and feed the ducks.
Yes.
And you think it's been a prolific area in the matches for the bigger carp. That's your point, isn't it, of selecting this peg today?
It's got recent form. There's plenty of pegs we could catch fish off today.
Yeah.
But for catching some fish, I think this is a peg to go on.
Well, you've been proved right with that first cast, and I mean, we're going to talk about the tackle and the bait in detail, but if you just hold that method feeder up for the camera, you can see what we're doing. It's a small method feeder. You've got micro pellets loaded on, and I think you've got a wafter on there, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got a 10mm wafter. Yeah.
All right, and I'm going to get out of the way because I think this is a key point. Long range feeder fishing requires quite an amazing sort of technique, really, and we'll talk about that as well. But I'll just let you chuck out and get settled, and hopefully we'll get another bite.
Right, you are.
Well, that was a good cast, Steve, and it looks like you've gone, I don't know, 10 metres off that pier?
Well, the distance between this bank and the pier is kind of 90 metres, and I'm kind of 84 metres at the minute.
Yeah.
And I've done that because it can just give me a bit of scope to work my way out there.
Got you. So you didn't want to go as far as you can chuck to start with,
No.
in case the fish back off?
Yes,
Right.
it's quite a common trait here at Worsbrough, where as the match goes on, if you like, you kind of increase your distance. It's very rare to catch fish, especially in open water on the same line.
Yeah.
A common trick for the lads who fish this is maybe start at 65 metres and finish up at 80, 90 metres by the end of the match.
Got you. So you had one cast before, and I suppose we actually had that bite or indication just after, what, 5 minutes?
Yeah, five or 6
what's
minutes.
your thinking now? You know, put this in a match perspective. How long would you be expecting to leave your feeder out before you reel in and repeat the process?
Certainly at this time of year, when the water temperature is going to be quite cold, and again, not going over the same stuff, but we've had another hard frost. You've got to be quite patient and prepared to really, maybe in a match situation over 5 hours, to maybe only plan to have 10 or 12 casts.
Yeah. So in the winter, you're definitely casting less often than, say, if you were fishing in the summer.
Yeah, the metabolism of the fish has really slowed down, and we're not trying to catch 20 fish. We might be trying to catch maybe 4 or 5, 6. I actually won a match on this venue a few weeks ago and caught 6 carp. So that's the kind of the target, if you like, in winter in a match situation. Quite often the matches are won with like 30, 40 pound, which would be maybe 5 or 6 carp.
Got you. And if this were a match, would you have any thinking about catching skimmers, or would you just go all out for carp?
I'd go all out for carp at this time of year, especially a peg like this, which has got foam.
So Steve, I'm just curious about why you're fishing a method feeder over a conventional feeder. What's your thinking there? I know you're targeting carp, but wouldn't you catch them on a normal feeder?
Well, you would catch some carp on a normal feeder, but I think you've got to kind of fish the averages, and the method feeder's outscoring the conventional feeder, especially at this time of year. And when you think about the size of the fish you're going to catch, you've got to catch an awful lot of skimmers and maybe some big bream to even compete with a carp. At this time of year, I think.
No, that looks like a bite.
Yeah, that's a fish.
Nice one. Well,
yeah, that's a fish.
I'm just going to get out of the way while you play it, Steve.
Right you are.
But I'm so pleased that you've had a bite so early on such a cold morning. Well, Steve, that looks like a decent fish. It's giving you some stick there, isn't it?
Well, it's certainly pull, yeah.
And I think it's worth mentioning the rod. I mean, that's our 13-foot distance feeder, and obviously it's designed for casting the long distances that you're using today. But it's also got a lovely fish playing action, hasn't it?
I think that's the quality of this rod is, it can cast the distance you need to, and for the distance rod, it has got an absolutely superb action.
Yeah.
Just like the rest of the feeder rods, to be fair, it's got a full parabolics action.
Yeah, there's not a lot of point having a rod that, okay, can chuck the distance, but you can't really play the fish on. So it's beautiful watching the rod absorbing all the lunges of the fish as you're playing it. And when you've got to bring it quite a long way back, considering if you're fishing 84 metres out, it's really playing up, isn't it? So I think this could be a good fish.
Yeah, it's got a lovely action, this rod. For a distance rod, it's absolutely sublime.
And just one thing to mention for the viewers, I notice you're keeping the rod really low down.
Yeah, I'm kind of taking it the opposite way to the carp's going. Yeah. When I get it close in, there's some kind of rocks and boulders down this edge, so I'll actually, but I'm not going to try and lift it up until I get it quite close to the bank.
Got you.
Another thing what's important when you get the fish in this kind of range is the clutch on the reel.
Yeah.
The 5000, the CS 5000, it's got quite a quick clutch, so.
Yeah. So you want to adjust that nicely, just so that it's going to give line when you need it, but not give the line too easily.
The great thing about this reel is it's kind of 180 degrees turn on the
on
the clutch, and it just peels nice
Well, it's a quick drag, but it's also got a carbon matrix drag, which makes it very, very smooth.
Yeah.
So when the fish does want to take line, it's not a jerky, it's really nice and smooth.
Yeah, it's a great feature for the reel, for it to be so quick.
Well, we will talk a bit about the rod and the reel that we're using today, because they are quite specialised for this type of fishing. But as it's your first fish and it's such a cold morning, I'm really keen that you get it in, so I don't want to put you off.
Yeah, and what? I don't know if you can pick this up, but I've got a shock leader there.
Oh yeah, I can just see the knot now coming onto the reel.
And once I've got it on the reel, I'm far more happy when I'm playing the fish.
Steve, are you happy with your landing net there? Because the way we've got everything set up with the cameras, I think I'm going to just move it over the top for you. Yeah. Just so you can get at it.
It's a nice carp.
Well, it's really playing up considering how cold it is, Steve. He's having a good fight, isn't he? Nicely done. Brilliant. We're off the mark. Well done, Steve.
There we go. Nice Worsbrough carp. It's one of the smaller ones, but welcome all the same. Let's put that down there.
See if you can just hold him up for Chappie, Steve. Yeah. He's probably going to fight a bit.
There we go. There we go.
What a beauty. Lovely mirror carp.
That's one of the smaller ones. You wouldn't have thought that one. You thought that were a lot bigger.
He's fought really well, hasn't he? But what a beautiful fish. It's really in good condition, isn't it?
It's lovely condition.
Yeah, beautiful. Well done, Steve.
I'll put him in the net.
Pressure's off now.
There we go.
Nice one, mate. Before you cast out, I think it's a good time to just have a look at the method feeder that you're using.
Yeah.
We can talk about the bait that you're putting on it and also the hook bait. So first of all, what's the method feeder that you're using at the moment?
Well, this one's a 36 gram Guru X Safe.
Okay.
Yeah. Conditions are fair today. If we've got some wind on it, I might have to fish something a bit different, maybe something smaller and heavier. Yeah,
you've got a good selection here, and we can perhaps have a look at them in a bit more detail. But so basically that's allowing you to get the distance you want. It's not windy today, you've got perfect accuracy, and it's giving the right presentation that you want.
Yeah.
So what's your hook length? You've got, what's that, sort of,
well, that's a
5 inches, is it?
It's a 4 inch hook length. It's a size 10 QM1 with a bayonet spike.
Okay.
And we're fishing wafters on the hook.
Okay, and what colour are you going to go for? What did you get that first fish on?
I lost that one, so I'm not quite sure, to be fair, but I'm fishing 10 mil. Okay. They marry up quite well with this one. So I really do like the washed out ones. So just hold that up, Steve, so we can see what you're using. It's a Sonu Baits 10 mil Bandam wafter. Yeah. And that's a washed out one. That's a washed out one. I do prefer in kind of where the water clarity is quite clear like it is today. I do prefer the washed out versions, but when it's mucky, the water, I'll probably go for one of the bright orange ones, something like that, something a bit more with a bit more visibility. I mean, it is kind of intriguing, isn't it, that you're almost adopting carp tactics, really, aren't you? Well, so it's like a boilie. That's exactly. And it isn't a wafter's like semi-buoyant, so that's right. It's going to counterbalance the weight of the hook, but it's not going to pop up. It's just going to move naturally. One thing to be mindful of is when you're using wafters is using the right size hook. Now, a size 10 hook is a size 10 QM1. It's a big hook, isn't it? It's a big hook, but it's perfect for a size 10 millimetre. I think that's a great tip because for me, probably coming from a more sort of bream skimmer perspective, silverfish fishing, I'd find that a big hook to put on. Yeah. Certainly in the winter. But obviously it's balancing absolutely right to that hook bait, and as it's proved, you know, you've had a bite first chuck, so yeah. If you could just hold that up for Chappie, I think that's an interesting point, really. Okay, and then you're going to load that up with dampened micro pellets. Yeah, straightforward pellets, straight out of the bag. Yeah. Sonu Baits 2 mil pro feed pellets. Okay. So I soaked them up the night before, to be fair, to make it a bit easier. And how I'll load the feeder up is I'll kind of half fill the mould. Yeah. Yeah, squeeze it in, press it quite firm.
So when you've done that first step, if you could just hold that up for Chappie as well,
Yeah,
so the viewers can see.
That's probably 2/3 of the capacity I'm going to put on.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's step one.
Yeah, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to...
Just watch Monty's got his eyes on that wafter.
I've just like kind of third filled it up now, and I'm just going to drop the wafter in the middle and press that down. And because I'm casting quite a distance, I'm gonna squeeze them quite firm.
Okay. Have you added anything to the micro pellets, like a binder or anything, or
No,
is it just natural?
They're straight out the bag.
bag.
What I would say is, if the branded ones tend to be the higher quality ones.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you're using, let's say, fishery pellets,
yeah,
where they kind of tend to be the lower grade ones, I'd definitely kind of enhance that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point, because that's one thing I have heard about is people stiffening them up, particularly when they're casting long range like that.
These have been. I've left off the pellets in, but let's get back. There we go.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to make sure on the cast that it is kind of aerodynamic.
Yeah. If you could just hold the finished sort of article up, Steve.
Yeah, and
that'd be great.
And by squeezing it with my hand after it's come out of the mould, I'm kind of putting that kind of hard skin on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of gone all smooth now.
And it obviously is very aerodynamic to help you cast the distance
One
required.
thing I have learnt about fishing at distance with a method feeder is I pay quite a lot of attention to the shape of it, and if you look at that, it's kind of
I don't blame you, because if you're fishing a match and you're only having 10 chucks,
it's got to be
every
right.
time wants to be, so it's worth spending that extra minute or so just to get it right, isn't it?
Yeah, if you do have a bit of trouble with your pellets, kind of a lot of lads I fish with tend to just put a sprinkling of ground bait in as well.
Okay.
But to be fair, these have been done the day before.
Yeah. Perfect.
And you can see where it's. But that's my top tip. It's got to be symmetrical.
Got you.
Because I have chucked them out when I've been rushing, and they kind of go all over the place.
Yeah. Well, we'll just watch you chuck out again, and perhaps this time we'll just talk through exactly the process of casting. I know that's an obvious thing to say, but you're casting long range, and I think it worth mentioning the fact that when I watched you before, you're absolutely loading the blank to get the power to cast easily. You're not like doing anything dramatic with the cast, but you're actually flexing the blank, and that's creating the right cast to get the distance.
Every rod has kind of a sweet weight what it'll cast lovely, and this particular rod, kind of the 50, 60, 70 grams, absolutely perfect. It loads the rod up lovely. One thing I would say about the technique of the cast, I kind of do it in one motion. I do see a lot of anglers, good anglers as well, and they catch plenty of fish. I'm not disputing that the cast is wrong, but they kind of do it from a standing start. And I kind of can't do that because it seems to go high in the air, and you know what I mean. It's important that you keep your feeder low, hit the clip nice, drop it in. If you kind of chuck it, if the higher you chuck it, the more line you're going to have out from when you.
So you're looking to cast like an optimum height to get the distance, so that you hit the distance, the line hits the clip, and then the method feeder lands nicely on the water.
If you put in more than 3 or 4 turns on the reel after you've cast in, you're not really getting the distance.
The other added complication fishing here is the railing behind you, so you've got to bear that in mind as well.
And that's where a 13-foot rod comes into play, to be fair on it.
Okay.
So basically what I'll do, I'll swing that feeder out, which is already starting to load the rod up, and as I bring it round like 180 degrees, once I get it over my right shoulder, I'll actually perform the cast. So this is how we do it. And that's 85 metres to the clip, and I've dropped it in kind of nice.
I'm not going to say it's effortless, but it's brilliant to watch. It's smooth and it's precise. And I think you're right. I mean, a lot of casting, be it even fly casting's the same. You want to load the rod and you don't want to stop. So if you bring the rod back and stop, all the energy comes out of the rod. And then you've got to create the energy to cast again. What you're doing is you're loading the rod as you bring it back and increasing it to cast.
That's right.
So you're making the rod do the work rather than sort of putting extra effort in yourself.
From a standing start, you've got to overcome that inertia, which is putting more stress on your shock lead and more stress on your tackle. So
it's brilliant, and I suppose it's worth mentioning it's the kind of thing that does take time to practice.
It is,
to start with, you wouldn't start to chuck that far. Maybe you'd sort of start off at 70 metres in this situation.
The advice I would give to people who are struggling casting is just go and practice casting.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it be with a method feeder or a conventional feeder,
Yeah.
and just work your way out and kind of get a feel for it, and you'll kind of get what feeders are right for the rod, whatever rod you're using, you'll kind of get that optimum weight where you can get the maximum distance. The feeders I'm using today are between 36 gram and like up to 45 gram.
Yeah.
That's quite a big feeder, that one actually. That's a Preston IC, I think it's the ICS one. But it's kind of an hybrid between the hybrid feeder and a method. It's quite a unique feeder, that one.
Well, Steve, that was a lovely cast, and I think it's worth mentioning, obviously you've cast to the clip, you've put the rod on your rest, and basically you've let everything settle.
Yeah.
And then you've very, very carefully just tightened up to it.
Yeah, and all I've had to do there really is I've put one wind on the reel. I've only turned the handle of the reel once, and I'm kind of fishing, and that's an important point where if you're chucking them kind of distances, the more you're winding on, you're not actually fishing the distance. So
and I suppose you could be pulling bait off your method feeder as well.
Yeah, I don't want to go through the don't move the feeder thing, but it's important that you don't move the feeder.
Well, I tell you what, you've nailed it with that first fish on your first cast. Monty's desperate for a walk, so I'm just going to take him for a quick walk around the reservoir, and maybe you'll have had another one when I get back, all right?
We'll try.
Cheers, Steve. Come on then, Mont. All right, Steve.
All right, James.
Looks like you had another fish. I could see you playing it when I was walking back.
Yeah, it were a good fish. It were one of the bigger fish I were talking about. Probably in the region of 10 or 12 pounds. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Lovely fish.
Well, I'm gutted I missed it, but I'm pleased you got it in the net, and I'm guessing Chappie got it on camera, so. And that was that chuck when I left you, so how long had it been in, do you reckon, the method feeder?
Probably 15 to 20 minutes, I'd have thought.
Yeah. And just another pull round, or did it drop back?
No, it were a nice bite, that one.
So I think that's worth mentioning, isn't it, that often with the method feeder, obviously the fish has just hooked itself.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just a case of picking up the rod and playing it. You're not striking or anything.
No, once the tip goes, the fish is usually set on the hook.
Yeah.
But you've got to kind of, fishing at distance, just pick some of that line up and get control of the fish kind of thing. Because fishing at this kind of distance with mono, there's obviously a certain amount of stretch.
Sure. Well, for such a cold morning, I know it's beautiful, but I've got to tell you, I'm well chuffed that you got those two fish in the net already.
Well, it's lovely sat in the sun. It makes a change because we haven't seen much sunlight.
Oh, it's been horrendous, hasn't it? Just so wet, and this is beautiful. And I think it sort of highlights, you know, you've absolutely got the right tactics with the long-range method feeder.
Yeah, I think the important thing is putting it where the fish are, and like I said to you, the consensus with the lads who are fishing the matches is to work your way out to them distances, because the fish tend to like sit in the middle of the lake. You know what I mean? In that middle section. Yeah.
Right then, Steve, you've got 3 different types of feeder that you've got available to fish with today. Yeah. And I've got to say, you know, the amount of different types of feeders available now, specialist feeders from your pellet feeder, hybrid feeder, method feeder, it's quite confusing. So it's nice to see that you've narrowed it down. Maybe you could just explain to us about the 3 different types of feeder that you're using.
Well, these are the 3 feeders I primarily use for doing my method type fishing. Yeah. The first one is the Guru X-Save. That's just like a standard method feeder. Yeah. The important thing about this one, it's weighted on one side, and it actually sits on the bottom, so your bait's always on the top.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that's the way it's moved on now. That, you know, going back to the old days when we used an M-stat feeder, which was just like a cone, and it could be in any position. This is actually presenting your bait on the bottom perfectly with the feed.
All these feeders have got that function where the weight's on the bottom and it'll actually sit like that on the bottom, so your bait's always exposed to the fish.
And just very quickly, this one's got an elastic in it that will provide a shock absorber when you're playing the fish.
That's exactly what I'm using today. Yeah. And this one is the X-Safe, where if you were to lose, get cracked off or snapped off, the actual...
So it's a safe rig.
It's a safe rig.
And we should mention that because a lot of venues now, you can't use the old style fixed method feeder for that reason, because the feeder could remain tethered to a fish, couldn't it?
Yeah, most feeders now come as an inline system. Yeah. That's a Guru hybrid. Another feeder I'd use on here.
So, hey, that's what we wanted. And that was about 15 minutes a game, wasn't it? Probably. Right. Again, keeping the rod nice and low and just sort of easing the fish away. Quite a lot of places for the fish to snag you up, isn't there, on this?
Yeah, well, all along this damn wall, there is actually rocks at the base of it to offer it protection. And there is actually, there's quite a lot of debris here as well.
That one's having a bit of a go, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I said earlier with the reel, it's got a real quick drag and maybe 180 degree turn on the clutches.
It's definitely working very well. Just to give you that insurance policy, you know, when the fish wants to run, you just let it run. There's no sense bullying a fish, is there, in the winter like this?
No, well, when you're fishing for maybe 4 or 5 fish in a session, the last thing you want to be doing is rushing a fish out and losing it. Just keep that fish away from the corner.
Yeah, he's kited to the left a bit, hasn't he, towards the dam. Once again, you've managed to stop that fish now, and it just shows the nice progressive action of the rod, doesn't it? It's bending all the way through.
Yeah, the action's absolutely superb for this type of fishing. Yeah. I think gone are the days where we're fishing with stiff rods.
Yeah. It's making me twitch a bit, this, Steve. I wish I was fishing.
Well, you can certainly sit down and have a go.
Well, I might have to have a go later, but I'm just so pleased that you've caught these fish on what potentially could have been a really tough day. So Steve, I know we talked a bit about it on the last fish you hooked, but have you got any tips for the viewers, you know, about playing a decent carp like this on a method feeder?
Because I've got a shock leader on,
Yeah.
I don't really want to be bullying the fish until I've got that 10-pound shock leader on the reel.
Right.
Yeah, so I kind of take my time and then apply a lot more force once I get that shock leader on the reel. I'm using a line which is red colour, so it's quite easy to see when I've got the shock leader on.
Well, we were going to talk about that, but you keep catching fish, so we'll talk about that once you've got this one in. And I'm just going to lift the landing net over, Chappie, so you've got that easy to get at without taking one of the cameras out. And you're pumping the fish, aren't you? You're just gradually keeping the pressure on the fish,
Yeah.
and gaining line when you can. And when it wants to have a run like now, you're just letting the fish take the line off the drag, so it's always working all the time.
Well, there's two ways you can do this. You can fish it on a back line,
Yeah,
or like I'm doing now, I'm just letting the clutch do the work.
yeah. I think now we have got such good reels, such powerful reels, using the clutch is a much more efficient way of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, I much prefer to play a big fish like this on the clutch.
Wow, that was lovely bright sun, but it's not going to help you when this fish comes up, is it? To be able to net it, but...
I think I'll be struggling to see it, to be fair.
I know.
Could have done with putting my sunglasses on when I hooked this.
Wow.
Feels a good fish again.
It does. It's maybe like that one that you had when I was walking Monty. It's definitely having a good scrap.
You can see the advantage now of the clutch.
Yeah.
And if you just get that set nice, you should have no problems.
Yeah.
It's certainly.
I bet you're wishing this was a match, aren't you?
I hope I draw you Sunday. As I say, it's a good fish again, this. But you can always be surprised with carp. Sometimes the bigger fish don't tend to pull so much. But you get them small commons, which are quite long.
Well, they're definitely fit, powerful fish. And you're bringing them in from such a long distance, aren't you, of course? So.
Yeah, I'm just back to the shock leader now. So now I've got the shock leader on the line, I'll apply a bit more pressure. Back on the reel, sorry. Doesn't feel so big now, but it's certainly not happy. Let's have a look here. There we go. Look, there we go. One thing to do is once you've got his head out of the water, is not to let it go back down.
Yeah.
And that's one of the commons I talked about. That's a nice fish. Let's scoop him in.
You just got him in the net. Nice one, Steve.
It's a lovely fish. A lovely Worsbrough carp, and that's the kind of fish.
Wow, look at that.
That's the kind of fish we're talking.
Yeah.
Which is like in the middle bracket, if you like.
Those beautiful big commons with a big, massive tail, look. That's why it fought so hard, isn't it?
It's a lovely fish.
See if you can hold him up for Chappie. Oh yeah, he's got quite a lot of parasites on it, so...
Well, they're the leeches there,
yeah,
if you can
see. It shows that the fish is on the bottom, isn't it? Not really very active.
They're out the fish's mouth.
Wow. Yep.
I'll just put that down there, out of the way, and have a look at this fish. It's a lovely looking fish.
See if you can hold it up for us and...
It's got lovely colours.
It's an absolute...
I'll show you the better side. But yeah, it's a bit of a wrestle. But that's a lovely fish. Look at that in the sun.
Wow. Fantastic. You like the look of that, don't you, Mont? Well, Steve, you're back in again.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can repeat the trick and have another one while we're talking.
Yeah.
But we were on about the method feeders. We talked about the standard method feeder.
Yeah.
And I was just intrigued about a hybrid feeder. When would you use a hybrid feeder?
Well, my first choice is always a method feeder.
Yeah.
But again, it's a kind of different presentation as far as this is more like a spoon, if you like, and the bait sits in it. Whereas your load of method feeder, you just kind of fill that one up. A bit more like a pellet feeder, hence the name hybrid.
Do you think that protects it on the cast a bit?
Definitely,
Does it, the contents of the feeder?
Definitely. A lot of people use them at the long distance because A, they cast well, and there's lots and lots of protection.
Okay, that's a good tip then. And then what about this one? Is this kind of like a compromise again between the two?
Yeah, well, this is the Preston ICS distance feeder. That's a fish.
No.
It is, yeah.
Well, we'll get to talk about these feeders at some point, but I think we've pretty much nailed it there. So we got the standard feeder, we got the pellet feeder, and then there's the Preston.
Yeah, the Preston feeder's kind of, it's got that, it's kind of got that hybrid shape and a flat lead bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also got this area at the top which is more like a standard method feeder, if you like.
Sure. Well, I think that's a good summary.
Yeah, the great thing is with these two feeders, the stems are interchangeable.
Yeah.
So I can use the Guru stem.
Yeah. And you can
in the ice. Yeah.
And you can change the style of feeder that you're using.
That one actually comes as a standard inline feeder, which most of the feeders do these days.
Yeah.
But the elasticated stem fits quite a few of the other brands as well.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's covered the feeders. I'm going to let you get another fish out.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like we're fishing in the summer, Steve, not in the middle of the depths of winter.
Yeah, we might have a tan by the end of the day.
That had only been in for 3 minutes, 4 minutes?
Yeah. Not long at all. Well, they're obliging today.
Yeah, I guess it might help that we're the only people fishing today, I suppose. If it was a match, maybe would the fish be a bit more spread out?
Well,
or?
I think with it being an end peg, all end pegs are an advantage. Yeah. As far as not having an angler either side of you. Kind of getting that.
He's trying to get you in the corner of the dam again, look.
I certainly expected a bite or two, but I didn't expect it to be this good, to be fair.
Well, when I was talking to Chappie about it, we were sort of thinking it might take a few hours to get your first fish with it being so cold, but these carp are having it today, aren't they?
Definitely, yeah. Whether it's the sunshine and maybe the water temperature's gone up a couple of degrees, it's triggered them into feeding. Just get that shock leader back on the reel. Just kind of a turn off. Again,
well, I'll tell you what. While you're playing the fish, I'm going to talk to you about that because that's intriguing. You're actually using this Stone River main line,
yes,
which is 018.
Yes.
Now, I believe from what you explained to me was this line's got a very minimal stretch.
Yeah, it sinks really well, and it's got a really low stretch compared to a lot of other monos.
Okay. So obviously with it being a lower diameter, Steve, that helps with your casting long distances, yeah? Yeah,
definitely. If I were fishing that 10 pound, what I've got as my shock leader straight through, it'd definitely put a bit more resistance on.
Sure, be harder to cast the distance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So,
and just to reference the shock leader, I don't know if Chappie can just have a look at that quickly. That's 10 pound Daiwa tournament, which is what you're using as a shock leader, and you've got, it's around about 10 metres, haven't you?
I put 10 metres on the reel, so when I get wetter fish into the area, I'm going to be kind of giving it a bit more. I'm kind of trying to bully it into the net. I'm on the stronger tackle and me actual shock leader knots. My shock leader knots on the reel, because again, any kind of knot.
Well done, Steve.
Any kind of knot in your system's a weak spot.
Yeah. And that shock leader is just tougher and will enable you to put as much pressure into the cast as you feel you need to, yeah?
I think as long as you're using a kind of a robust, if you're using a kind of robust line like a Maxima or something like that, the honest reason is why I use that is it's widely used by a lot of people.
Oh, I wonder if Chappie can just have a zoom in on that so you can actually see the short hook length with the elastication in the feeder there.
Yeah. Again, I'll show you how the feeder works with a pull.
Yeah.
You could actually
Yeah,
the
so
feeder becomes
that's
free
free,
running.
yeah. So that's the safe rig, yeah.
And that's the safe rig, yeah.
Brilliant. So that was a bit smaller, Steve.
But welcome all the same.
Just a bit.
Yeah. Put that down. Again.
I think that's got to be number 6, hasn't it? Now,
Yeah,
or
5 or 6, I think.
something like that.
And that's one of the littler samples.
Yeah.
They're the fish what were introduced as a pound like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's brilliant. Absolutely
let's get 'em
brilliant.
in the net.
Right then, Steve, I'm not going to let you chuck straight out again. We've got to have just a quick chat about the bait.
Yeah.
So if you could just show us how you're mounting that wafter onto your hair.
Well, what I've got there is I've got, like I said, a size 10 QM1.
Yeah.
On the head, I've got a bayonet spike.
Yeah.
Yeah. And simply, what I'm going to do with that is push it into a 10mm wafter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, you've had, well, how many? 3 or 4 fish now.
Yeah.
On one of those. So you're just going to keep sticking with it.
Yeah,
I suppose if you didn't have a bite on it, you might try a different colour.
Yeah, I think for me personally, a lot of people like the really bright ones, but like I said, in clear water, I like the washed out ones.
Yeah.
And I also like the pellet coloured ones as well.
Yeah.
If the water were really coloured, I'd kind of maybe go for these brighter ones.
Yeah.
These orange ones tend to do quite well here as well.
Yeah. If you could just show that on the back of your hand, just so that we can see it really clearly. You can see it's a fairly short hair.
Yeah.
And it just mounts that absolutely perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it couldn't be simpler really.
Yeah.
Fish picks it up, and if you're doing it right, generally they're hooked in the bottom lip.
Yeah. So now you're going to load the feeder. I know we did that once, but we'll do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just going to reference the pellets that you're using.
Yeah.
So this is the Sonu Baits Pro feed
pellets,
2 mil.
Yeah. 2 mil, yeah.
And how
Straight-
much of that did you mix up? It looks like you just mixed up a third of a bag.
Well, what I've done, this is my 4th session. I'm only just broke into the 2nd bag.
Right.
So I've actually had 4 sessions fishing on a bag and a little bit, to be fair.
Right.
If a pint of them will go up to like 2 pints.
You don't need
that's
a lot of
plenty.
feed, do you?
That's plenty. 2 pints is more than enough. There's no point doing more and then throwing them in the bin. You're definitely not going to
I
need.
like what you've done here. You told me that when you prepared the pellets, you keep them in this airtight container so that they're not open to the elements, they're not going to dry out.
Exactly right. Basically what I've done there, I've done a pint of dry pellets, covered them in water for 30 seconds, drained them off, put them in there, left them overnight, give them a shake, and they're pretty much good to go.
Yeah.
The reason I've got that in there is because now they're right, I don't want them to dry out.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you just have a small tub where you
Just take what you need out. I've actually I've filled that up halfway and I'm not down to the bottom yet. So
well, you've only really had 5 casts.
yeah, it's very difficult not to do too many because you put them in and you think there's not many there, but by the time they've swelled up. So basically loading the feeder up, how I like to do it with pellets is kind of fill it up a third, or 2/3, sorry. Squeeze the feeder in.
So that's like step 1.
Yeah, fairly.
And you use the mould because you can get the right shape.
Get the right shape. And then what I'll do again,
if you just hold that up just so we can see it. That's it.
And then what I've done there, I've put another probably third in the bottom.
Okay, so you're actually hiding the hook bait in with the method.
Yeah, so it's going to be completely covered up. And basically I'm going to squeeze that in again the second time. I'm going to do it quite firm. Because of the distance again and the kind of how it's going into water, I don't want these pellets to come off.
So one thing just to mention before you chuck out, obviously we've talked about the QM1 size 10, that's a Guru hook.
Yeah.
And what hook length are you using? Is it the 017 on this or the 020?
I've tied these myself. You can buy these ready tied if you're not too confident in tying your own. That's a 10 QM1 to Garbolino 020. If I use the smaller sizes with the smaller wafters, I tend to drop down to an 017 or an
So you're matching a slightly low diameter with a slightly smaller hook.
If you're tying them yourself, it just makes that so much easier. The 020 through the 14 will be difficult to get it through twice.
Brilliant. Right, Steve, let's take a look at the rod and reel that we're using today. Obviously, it's all about long range fishing on the feeder. We're using a method feeder, and the rod that we're using is our CR10 13-foot distance feeder number 3.
Yes.
Now, Steve, you were really instrumental in helping me develop this rod. Feeder fishing's moved on leaps and bounds, hasn't it? And the fashion and need is for longer and longer casts.
Well, yeah, we've touched on the kind of the feeder scene's developed, and there's far more feeder matches now than there ever has been, and it's as popular now as it's ever been. It's all about being able to cover all the water in front of you. I think we've talked when we've done the short distance fishing really short, but conversely to that, it's days like this where you need to get to maybe 80, 90 metres, you need a tool for the job. And this is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, so I think it was probably 12 months ago we first started this project up, developing this rod. And obviously when you're thinking about a very specialist tool like this, we talked about it being able to cast a long distance, but also to have a lovely action as well. It takes a lot of time to get it right. So I really thank you for that, because you've been a brilliant advantage with it. And one thing that I think we need to mention is these Fuji K guides. Now these are a very advanced Fuji guide, and they're specifically developed for distance casting. So obviously we've utilised those throughout the blank. And we really thought about the distance between the reel and the butt guide, and the diameter of the butt guide. What we're actually trying to do is achieve a very efficient flow of line through the rod during the cast.
It's all about reducing that friction.
And that's what that achieves. This profile of guides, the shape of the guides, you can see that it's actually angled slightly forward, which again helps reduce the friction of the line coming from the spool to the butt guide and then through the rest of the guides on the rod. So we talked about the rod. It's very, very powerful for casting, lovely action, and extremely strong. We haven't managed to break one yet.
No.
And I'll tell you what, I don't think you could, because the composition of the carbon, the design of the rod is very, very strong.
The power in this rod is unbelievable. It's a really powerful rod, and considering the action it's got, it's the engineers have done a really good job of putting this together.
No, throughout it, we've really kind of over-engineered it for strength, because the last thing you want is a rod snapping on the cast. And you'll be able to load this with a really heavy feeder, as you've done in testing, cast massive distances very, very accurately. We've got a Fuji reel C, which is another advantage, and we've got the right length of handle, because obviously that's important when you're thinking about casting long distances.
Having that kind of longer butt just gives you the leverage for the cast, and that for me, that's a perfect rod for me for this kind of work. It's absolutely perfect.
Brilliant. We've got to mention the reel, because again, I spent a lot of time with you on the reel. We wanted a larger size reel. This is a 5,000 size reel. It's our CS10. And it's maximum spec again on bearings. We've got sealed bearings, so they're very, very strong, stainless steel. They're actually corrosive resistant, which, you know, packs a lot of features into the reel in terms of reliability and smoothness. We talked about the drag, carbon matrix drag, quick drag.
Really quick drag, 180 degree turn is all you need.
And I really liked your tip that you were telling me, that sometimes, you know, when you're waiting a long time for a bite on a method feeder, you'll engage the drag just by turning it, so the fish can take line if needed on that initial run, and then as you're playing the fish, you can just gradually adjust it back to the perfect optimum for the line that you're using. I want to mention the line clips, because we spent quite a bit of time on that. The line clips themselves have got a plastic insert behind them to protect the braid and the line. And they're a large size, so that they're easy to use to put the line on, take it off, or braid. I mean, they are braid friendly. And we've actually got two, so we've got one on either side.
So if you're fishing multiple, you can have one set up for a further distance and go back to the other one.
And just finally on the reel, it's supplied with two spools, both aluminium, and they both come with reducers, which are absolutely great when you want to use braid.
And this setup I've got here has kind of got 120 metres of kind of 018 on, takes it right up to the spool without putting any backing on. Absolutely perfect.
Brilliant. So I just want to finish on the tips, because again, you're instrumental on that. Perhaps you could just describe the tips, and we'll get back out again and see if we can catch another fish.
What we've decided on this rod, we've actually done 4 tips, so we can utilise this rod not just for kind of method work, but also for long distance bream work on places like your Ferry Meadows, Stoke Arrow, for example. We've got the ounce carbon tip, and we've got an 1.5 ounce carbon tip. Now these two tips are different to the other two tips in a way that we've kind of on the on the 3 ounce and the 1.5 ounce glass, we've actually kept in with the bigger guides. Again, if you're wanting to use heavy shock leaders, 10-12 pound shock leaders, you can use these tips. If you're going to use this rod for braid fishing, to be fair, I'm using this rod with a 10 pound shock leader, and I've got the 1.5 ounce tip in, which has actually got the small guides on, and I don't have any problems with it. But I don't know if you can see there, on the 2 in the middle, we've got from the fourth runner down, we carry on that through right to the end.
No, I really like what you've done, Steve. What you've made is an extremely versatile rod. So it is a long-range method feeder rod. As you said, you could use it long-range ground bait feeder, and I'll tell you what, it'd make an awesome river rod as well for fishing on big rivers.
Like I say, I was lucky enough to get this. I got the prototype rod, and I've been using that for 12 months. I've actually used that for just standard bream fishing at 50-60 metres, and it's absolutely we braid direct, and again, no problems. So at the distances what we're doing today, it's a tool for the job.
Well, it's absolutely a great combination, and I thank you for all your input. Come on, get back out again. I want to see you catch another fish.
Let's get this out.
Well, Steve, you're maintaining your 100% hit rate here.
It's turning into quite a good day, to be fair. I didn't really expect.
No.
Considering how cold it's been for the last few days.
No, it's quite unbelievable. And I tell you what, that sun feels just wonderful.
Absolutely.
Not fighting mad, this one, is it?
No.
But sometimes it can be deceptive, can't it?
Yeah, like the 4 or 5 pounders seem to go bananas, and the bigger fish tend to just kind of nod around.
Would you expect to catch any bream on one of these?
Yeah, you could do. Yeah, I fished recent and I caught 2 bream on this method.
You all right with the landing net? You got it?
Yeah, I've got it. We're good. It's a little one.
It is a smaller one, but
welcome all the same.
Absolutely. If this was a match now, you'd be on your victory lap, I reckon.
Hook's come out in the net.
Yeah, I got that for you.
You got it?
Yeah, I got that.
Again, another lovely little Worsbrough common. I think we can end the session with that one. We've had 6 or 7 fish now. It's been a great day, bit of sunshine. Great using that 13-foot distance feeder and the 5000 CS.
Steve, it's been brilliant, and I've learned a hell of a lot about method feeder fishing. It's a simple method, but I think putting into practice what you've shown us today will really help a lot of people out there get the most out of it. Well, what an absolutely cracking net of fish, Steve. Carp taken on a long-range method feeder in the winter. I'm absolutely thrilled with what you've caught there.
We've had an absolutely great day. Fantastic.
Well, thank you, Steve, and thanks for watching.
Yes, thanks for watching.